You wake before dawn, but the city is already ahead of you. Something rattles outside, wood knocking against wood, a cartwheel hitting a rut, a voice shouting that sounds angry even when it is not. The air in the room is cold and stale, heavy with the smell of last night's fire and too many bodies sleeping too close together. You breathe it in because you have no choice. This is London. It gets inside you before your feet ever touch the street. When you step outside, the city presses back immediately. Buildings lean inward as if listening. Upper floors hang over the lane, close enough that neighbors could shake hands from their windows. Light struggles to reach the ground. The street is a narrow channel of mud, straw, and whatever else yesterday left behind. You watch where you place your feet. Everyone does. One wrong step can ruin your day. This is not a city that eases into morning. It is already alive.
Bakers are working in near darkness. Porters haul loads that look too heavy for one man. Somewhere nearby, a bell rings, not urgently, just enough to remind you who owns the time. Church, market, work. The rhythm is familiar. It feels solid. It feels like it will always be this way.
For most people, London does feel permanent. Not because it is safe, but because it is known. You know which alley floods when it rains. You know which tavern waters its ale, and which butcher cheats his weights. You know which streets to avoid after dark, and which faces mean trouble. Survival here is a kind of literacy. Those who cannot read the city do not last long. The houses are mostly timber, packed together so tightly that fire seems like an afterthought rather than a danger. Hearths burn all day. Smoke hangs low, caught between roofs and fog. You smell it everywhere. Wood smoke, coal smoke, the sour edge of tanneries by the river. The Thames itself carries its own scent, a slow-moving mix of waste, rot, and life. It is ugly, but it feeds the city, and the city forgives a lot for that. People crowd the streets because there is nowhere else to go. London is swelling. Villages empty into it. Labor pulls bodies inward like gravity. There is work here, sometimes. Food, sometimes. Hope, occasionally. Space, never. Families rent single rooms. Strangers sleep separated by a single wall. Privacy is a rumor. Children run barefoot through filth that adults pretend not to see. Dogs pick through refuse. So do pigs. They are not pets. They are part of the sanitation. What they leave behind stays until rain or feet spread it thin enough to ignore. This is normal. Complaining does nothing. You adapt or you leave, and most cannot leave. No one points to a single cause for the way life feels here. There is no villain standing at the city gates. The pressure comes from everywhere at once. Too many people. Too much trade. Too little space. Systems layered on top of habits, layered on top of necessity. Everyone adds a little weight. No one can lift it off again. At first, the city absorbs everything. It always has. A bad harvest somewhere else means higher prices here, but the market's still open. A sickness passes through a parish, and prayers follow it out. Fires happen, but most are small. The rhythm continues. London convinces you that it can take the hit. Then one morning, something feels wrong. It is subtle. The street is quieter than it should be. A shop remains shuttered long after sunrise. You notice a mark on a door you have passed 100 times before. A symbol drawn in chalk or paint. A warning, though no one says it out loud. People cross the street to avoid that house. Not dramatically, just enough to keep distance. Later, you hear about a fire that did not stop where it should have. Wind carried it, roof to roof, lane to lane. Buckets came too slowly. Walls collapsed inward, trapping heat. By the time it burned itself out, whole blocks were gone. The smoke lingered for days, thick enough to sting your eyes even far away. Or it is sickness instead. It moves faster than rumor, one household than the next. The bells change their tone. Carts appear in the early hours, before most people are awake. You hear the wheels first, then the voices. Low, efficient. They are not cruel, they are practiced. This is the moment when the city stops feeling neutral. You still go to work, if work still exists. You still buy bread, if there is bread to buy. But your attention narrows. You count coughs. You avoid touch. You listen harder at night. London feels closer now, not as a community, but as a presence. Its breath is on your neck. Authorities respond, but slowly and never all at once. Orders are given, then ignored.
Then enforced harshly in one street and forgotten in the next. Houses are sealed. Markets close and reopen under different rules. Fear spreads unevenly, shaped by rumor more than truth. The density that once meant opportunity now works against everyone. Illness finds bodies easily. Fire finds fuel everywhere. Panic finds ears already tuned for it. The city's strength becomes its weakness, and there is no easy way to reverse that. You stand in the street one evening and realize something simple and terrifying. London does not know who you are. It never did. It cannot protect you. It can only continue. And it will. The carts keep coming. You learn their schedule without meaning to. Early, always early. Before the city fully wakes, before children spill into the lanes, before shop doors creak open. The sound of wheels on stone carries farther now because fewer people are moving. London has not gone silent. It has thinned. Neighbors disappear between one sunrise and the next. Sometimes you know where they went. Sometimes you do not. A room that once held laughter sits empty, its door nailed shut, a mark painted over old wood. You pass it every day. You stop looking directly at it. Looking feels dangerous. Work becomes uncertain. Markets open late or not at all. Goods rot faster than they can be sold. Prices jump without warning. Bread that fed a family yesterday barely feeds one today. Hunger sharpens tempers. Arguments break out over space, over turns, over nothing at all. The city is still crowded, but trust has drained out of it. At night, the fear changes shape. During the day, it is busy, distracted by survival. At night, it slows down. You hear coughing through walls. You hear prayers whispered badly, spoken too fast. Somewhere nearby, someone screams, then stops. You never find out why. London responds the only way it knows how, with rules, with force, with distance. Guards appear at crossings. Parishes become borders. Movement is watched, sometimes punished. The poor suffer first, as they always do. They have nowhere to retreat. Wealthier households close themselves in, retreating upward into higher floors, cleaner air, thinner contact. The city fractures vertically as much as it does street by street. Fire, when it comes, feels almost merciful at first. It is clean in its intention. It burns instead of lingering, but it does not respect boundaries. Flames leap alleys with ease, catching on roofs dried by years of smoke. Bells ring wildly now, not to mark time, but to warn. Buckets pass from hand to hand. Water spills uselessly into dirt. Heat drives people back while their lives are still inside. You run when told. You stop when trapped by the crowd. Smoke blinds you. The city you knew dissolves into noise and heat and confusion. When it is over, when the fire finally starves, whole neighborhoods are gone. Streets you memorize no longer exist. London redraws itself in ash. Afterward, the city pretends it has learned something. Rebuilding begins quickly, not gently. Wider streets appear in some places. Brick replaces timber where money allows. New rules dictate how close houses can stand, how high they can reach, what materials they may use. These changes are practical, not kind. Some gain stability, Others lose what little freedom they had. The city that emerges is tougher, more organized, less forgiving. It carries scars beneath its surface. Regulations pile up. Infrastructure improves unevenly. London survives by becoming harder to live in, not easier. Centuries later, you walk these same routes without knowing it. Roads follow medieval paths. Property lines echo fire breaks cut in panic. Public health systems trace their ancestry to fear and loss. The logic of crowd control, of quarantine, of policing movement, all of it was tested here, on people who never volunteered to be experiments. You live inside that inheritance. Cities still promise opportunity. They still hide danger in density. They still trade comfort for closeness. When something goes wrong now, when streets empty or rules tighten, or fear spreads faster than truth, you are watching an old story repeat itself in new clothing. London learned it the hard way.
So did everyone who lived long enough to remember.